Hi there. In this video today I'm going to talk about how to diagnose an engine mount that's failed, what the symptoms are and how to repair it. Just a little bit of an overview. I've owned one of these cars for 13 years now and it's done 432,000 Ks and it's given us a pretty faultless run. The other car which the engine mount has failed on, it's the top engine mount. That one I've only owned a couple of years and that's only got 160,000 Ks on it. But before we do anything, I'm going to start them both up so you can hear the difference between the two cars, the one where an engine mount is good and one where it's not. And what you find when your engine mount is failing, and particularly your top engine mount, when it's cold and particularly in reverse, the car will rumble and sound like it sounds like you've got a transmission failing problem, but it's not, it's an engine mount. And it typically goes away when you stick it in drive and you start driving along, and particularly when the car warms up. And it took me a while to diagnose my first one, but now I've worked out what I need to do. And also you'll notice if the top engine mount's failing, that when you go over rough ground like a pothole or something, the car will clonk a bit and it feels quite rough. So we're just going to start both of these cars up so you can have a listen. So if you've got a car that may have a similar problem, you'll be able to diagnose it yourself. So I'm going to jump in each car. I'll start up the one where the engine mount is good, so you can hear what it sounds like when things are going well, and then I'll start the next car up where it does a lot of rumbling. Now I'm in my oldest one, which I've had for 13 years, and it's running really good, so I'll start this one up so you can hear what it should sound like when everything's going well. Okay, both cars are cold, and I'll stick it in reverse so you can just listen. No real terrible noises at all. Stick it in drive. All sounds very good, so there's nothing to worry about there. So I'll jump in the other car now so you can have a listen, see what the difference is. Now I'm in the second car and I'll start this one up. Here, hopefully you can hear that rumbling sound. It shouldn't be sounding like that when you stick it. A lot of vibration and it's really rumbly. Quite a bit noisier than the other one. See, forward, not an issue. Stick it in reverse and you hear that rumbling noise, and that is the engine mount failed. And I'll go out and show you how you can also diagnose it by looking at it. Now I've flicked the bonnets up on both the cars so we can have a look where the engine mount is and where the problem might be. So we'll start with the older car where the engine mount is all fine. It's been replaced before, and if you look down, your top engine mount is just sitting in here, just under here. And to diagnose, to see if it is okay, you just put a screwdriver or just something. It doesn't have to be anything that's sort of a bit of a weird shape, and there should be a gap in under here. It's a bit hard to tell. I'm just doing this off my phone, so it's not, but the screwdriver goes under there fine, so there should be a gap between that bit of aluminium mounting there and your engine mount there, because that's where the spring is, and so the engine can move up and down a bit. So there's a good bit of gap there. The engine mount's fine on that one there. We'll go to the other car and we'll see what the difference is. And if you look in here, I know it's a little bit dark and it's a bit hard to see, so I'm sorry about that. But you can't get the screwdriver under there at all because it is completely closed off in the gap. So all the vibration from the engine goes straight through to the whole car body, because when the engine's cold particularly, they're a little bit more vibrating, and that just sends it all through to the car. And the engine mount's designed to take all that vibration out and any sort of bouncing up and down. So I'll try and get this camera in a little bit closer so you can actually see. A bit hard to get my screwdriver in there, but there's meant to be a gap in some up around there, about there, but there's no gap at all. So, and that's where the problem is. So today we're going to pull out that engine mount. It's a bit fiddly, but you don't need any specialist tools. Basically what you got to do is you got to undo these 3 bolts here and that one over here. There's an earth strap there. I recommend take that one out, just clear as it is, because it is fiddly, it is tight in there. And there's another bolt further back and against the wall there. It's hard to see, but particularly when it's a bit dark, there it goes down, and it's on that aluminium mount there onto the sidewall, so you've got to take that one out too. So I'll get my tools. I think I need about there's a 19, and 17 and 14, and then there's this little one that's like about a 12mm there, and they're all the tools you'll need to do it. Just a socket set. But the first thing you've got to do before you start undoing anything is you've got to lift the engine a bit. So just put a car jack or a jack underneath and just lift it up so you've got a gap back in where the mount is. So realistically you want about 5 to 10mm gap in there, so you're taking the weight, because if you try and take the mount out and the engine weight's on it, it won't come out. So just jack it up a little bit, just get under the engine, just to put a bit of a jack under there and lift it up, and then you can start undoing those bolts. So I'll go and park this up on a firm bit of concrete, and then we'll jack the engine up a little bit and start undoing these bolts. I've jacked the engine up just a little bit, just used the car jack. Just be a little bit careful where you do jack. I have jacked on the sump, just on the edge, corner edge, so it's not putting too much pressure in the middle, because you don't want to blow a hole in that. You shouldn't do, but just on a corner, as long as it's secure, should be fine. So I'll go up and show you the difference in the gap now. I've got quite a good gap, so we can start undoing it. These are the tools I'm using. You don't need many tools at all. I don't have a long extension socket to getting one of them undone, so I'm just going to use a ring spanner for that. But yeah, it's all fairly simple on the tool side of it. Now again, it is a bit dark, but if you sorry, I don't have professional camera gear here, but there you go. You can put the screwdriver easy underneath between the aluminium casting and the engine mount. So that's what you want. You want a gap there so there's no weight on the engine mount when you take it out. So now I'll start undoing these bolts and we'll take that out. Right, the first thing I've taken out is this swing army thing, plastic. Just helps, well, you've got to take it out anyway, but it does help for more room for getting other things out. The other thing I've done is just undo anything that sort of, or yeah, undo bolts, like this hose here, so you can just move it slightly sideways to help to get to these bolts down below. So now I've done that, I will get the other side arm done. So we've got 3 bolts there. I'll undo those, and then the 2 bottom bolts that hold it down at the bottom of the chassis, and then we hopefully should be able to lift it out. I've loosened off or taken off the nuts and bolts off this top casting here, so that can come out of there. And I've undone the other casting that's out to the side panel. Now I've still got it sitting there because it's been held by a little 10mm bolt that is connected to the brake line, so we might be able to just move it around and not have to take it completely out. What I'll do, I'll undo the two bottom bolts that are holding the engine mount and see if I can move it slightly towards the engine and hopefully lift it up without having to take that other mount completely out. But I'll undo those bolts next and see how we get on with that. Well, I've got the mount out of here now. It's a very fiddly job trying to wiggle that out of there. The side mount there, or the casting, that's aluminium casting that's bolted to the side of the car there, you don't need to take that completely out as long as it's loose, so you can wiggle it to the sideways or down so it gets out of the road for pulling the mount out. There's a little pipe that comes out of your power steering. It's this one down here. You just need to push that out of your road because it does get in the road, and it is fiddly trying to get it up through those pipes and castings. It's not a big job, it's taken about 10-15 minutes to get to this stage. It'll take probably a little bit longer to get it back in. I'll show you the old one and then we'll start putting the new one back in. This is the old one here, I've just taken out. Sometimes they start leaking. This one's just started leaking a bit of oil, and yeah, it looks worse for wear. So put a new one, a genuine Honda one. I don't know why they've put in a new top casting. Doesn't really need that. The old one will be fine to go straight back on there. And the Honda have reduced their price on them, so there's no real need to buy an aftermarket part, because the Honda ones will be as good as you need. The mount I've managed to get back in there. It's a really fiddly job getting it in. You've got to turn and twist, so yeah, if you're doing it at home, just persevere with it, you'll get it there. Just run the socket set down through all the pipe work, both sides, tighten them up firm. So now all I've got to do is just reconnect everything that I'd disconnected, which shouldn't take long now. Engine mounts all back in there now, and if you can see down where the aluminium casting is and the rubber mount, engine mount, there's a gap in there of about 10mm where that screwdriver's going in. So it's all sorted. So what I'll do is start the vehicle up and see if we've got a different sounding noise. Now that's the job done for changing the engine mount on the Honda Civic. It's not a biggie job. It takes maybe half an hour if you're all set up with your tools and everything ready. You might be able to do it quicker than that. If you're not familiar with mechanical stuff, it might take you a bit longer, but easy enough job to do. Those engine mounts do fail, and I've got two of these cars and they've both failed, and I've had to replace them both. Other than that, these Honda Civics are extremely reliable, and like I said before, one of them's got 430,000 Ks on it, and other than the engine mount, that's all it's ever gone wrong. And very reliable car. So if you've got anything you're unsure of or got any questions, just leave some comments below, and all the best.